You standing in your apartment at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, scrolling through Zillow like it's Instagram, saving houses you can't afford. You've got $23,000 in your savings account. You pay every bill on time. Your credit score on your phone says 742. You think you're ready. You think this is the year. Then you sit down with the mortgage broker and they pull your actual credit report and the number drops to 685. Just like that, 57 points gone. The interest rate they quote you isn't the 3.5% your parents got in 2010, it's 6.25%. The house you wanted, the three-bedroom in a decent school district for $405,000, now costs you $2,273 a month just for the mortgage, before taxes, before insurance, before the HOA fee you didn't know existed. You do the math in your head and realize that's more than half your take-home pay. The broker smiles and says, maybe look at condos instead. You drive home in silence thinking this was supposed to work. You did everything they told you to do, but here's what nobody told you. The game just changed, and it didn't change in your favor. This isn't bad luck. This is a mathematical equation redesigned to keep you exactly where you are. It's called FICO 10T, and if you don't understand what just happened, you're about to get locked out of homeownership for the next decade. My name is DeAndre, and on this channel, we don't just talk finance, we expose the invisible equations that keep us broke. The system's designed to look fair while functioning like gatekeepers, and the truth your parents' financial advice can't touch because the rules change while they weren't looking. If you want to stop running on a treadmill that's moving faster than you are, if you're tired of being told you're not trying hard enough when the math literally doesn't add up, smash that subscribe button because we're about to do the forensic accounting that your high school never taught you and your employer definitely doesn't want you to understand. Let me take you back. 1989, a company called Fair Isaac Corporation creates the FICO score to remove bias from lending. Before this, whether you got a mortgage depended on whether the banker liked your face, your last name, or the neighborhood you came from. The FICO score was supposed to level the playing field, to make lending decisions based on data, not discrimination. And for a while, it worked. Your parents, if they bought a house in the 90s or 2000s, they played by simple rules. Pay your bills on time. Keep your credit card balances low. Don't max out your cards. Don't miss payments. Do that for 6 months and you could build a credit score good enough to buy a house. The median home price in 2000 was $169,000. The median household income was $42,000. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. Tight but doable. Fast forward to 2025. The median home price is $414,000. The median household income is $75,000. That's a 5.5 to 1 ratio. Homes cost 50% more relative to income than they did in 2000. Mortgage rates in 2000 averaged 6.3%. Right now, in February 2026, they're hovering at 6.06%, almost the same. But here's the trap. Your parents bought their house when it cost 4 times their income at 6% interest. You're trying to buy a house that costs 5.5 times your income at 6% interest. It's not the same game. It's a rigged game. And just when you thought you understood the rules, they changed them again. Enter FICO 10T. In October 2022, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the people who oversee Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which control more than half of all mortgages in America, validated a new credit scoring model called FICO 10T. They also approved something called VantageScore 4.0, starting in late 2025 and rolling out fully in 2026. Lenders can now use these models instead of the classic FICO score your parents grew up with. Sounds good, right? More options, more competition, more access to credit. That's what they told you. Let me show you what they didn't tell you. FICO 10T doesn't just look at your credit score on the day you apply for a mortgage. It looks at your credit behavior over the last 24 months. It's called trended data. Let's say you've got a credit card with a $5,000 limit. Classic FICO looks at your balance on the day they pull your report. If you got $500 on it, that's 10% utilization. Good. But FICO 10T goes back 2 years. It sees that 6 months ago, you maxed that card out at $4,900. It sees that you've been paying it down slowly. It sees that 3 months ago you put another 1,500 on it for an emergency car repair, then paid it off. Classic FICO says you're responsible. You've got low balances. FICO 10T says you're volatile. You're stressed. You're living paycheck to paycheck. And even though you paid everything on time, even though your balance is low right now, FICO 10T downgrades you. Your score drops. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the algorithm now penalizes financial stress even when you handle it correctly. Let's run the numbers. Let's say you're buying that $405,000 house. You've saved $81,000 for a 20% down payment. That's a $324,000 mortgage. At 6.25% interest over 30 years, your monthly payment is $1,997 just for principal and interest. Add property taxes at 1.2% of the home value annually. That's $405 a month. Add homeowners insurance, let's say $150 a month. Add PMI. If you didn't hit 20% down, let's say you only put 10%, that's another $270. Your total monthly housing cost is now $2,822. The general rule is you shouldn't spend more than 28% of your gross income on housing. To afford that $2,800 payment, you need to make $120,000 a year, but the median household income in America is $75,000. You're $45,000 short. You're not failing because you're bad with money. You're failing because the math is designed to fail you. Now here's the truly insidious part. FICO 10T is being sold as a tool for inclusion. They say it helps first-time home buyers, young adults, renters, people with thin credit files. They say it incorporates rental payment history, so even if you've never had a credit card, your on-time rent payments count toward your score. And that's true. If you're in that narrow category of people who have perfect rent history, no debt, and stable income, FICO 10T might help you. But if you're like most people, if you've ever carried a balance on a credit card because your car broke down, if you've ever paid off debt in chunks instead of all at once, if you've ever used credit the way credit is supposed to be used, as a financial tool to smooth out cash flow, FICO 10T sees that as risk. It sees you managing your life and it calls you unstable. Meanwhile, VantageScore 4.0, the other approved model, does something even worse. It includes mortgage-specific variables, meaning if you've never owned a home before, your score is automatically lower than someone who has. Let me repeat that. You are penalized for not already owning a home while trying to buy your first home. First-time buyers, young people, military families who move frequently and rent, people from communities where homeownership rates are historically lower because of redlining and systemic inequality, all of you get dinged. The system claims to expand access, but it's actually reinforcing the same wealth gaps it pretends to solve. Here's the psychological trap they're counting on. You'll blame yourself. You'll think, I should have paid off that credit card faster. I should have saved more. I should have made better choices. But this isn't about your choices. This is about a system that requires you to have wealth in order to build wealth. It's the Sam Vimes boot theory of economics. A poor man buys $10 boots that fall apart in a year. A rich man buys $50 boots that last 10 years. Over a decade, the poor man spends $100 on boots. The rich man spends 50. The poor man pays double, not because he's irresponsible, but because he couldn't afford to be efficient. That's what's happening here. You can't build credit without debt, but if you use debt, you get penalized for using it. You can't qualify for a low interest rate without a high credit score. But you can't get a high credit score if FICO 10T sees you as financially stressed, even when you're handling that stress perfectly. You're being taxed for being working class. The hidden cost isn't just the interest rate, it's the time. Let's say you get approved at 6.25% instead of 5.5%. On a $324,000 mortgage, that's a difference of $133 a month. Doesn't sound like much, but over 30 years, that's $47,080. That's $48,000 you will never invest, never use to start a business, never pass down to your kids. That's $48,000 extracted from your family's generational wealth because an algorithm decided your financial stress during a pandemic or a job loss made you a risk. For the Black community specifically, This is structural violence disguised as innovation. Homeownership is the primary vehicle for building wealth in America. The median white family has 8 times the wealth of the median black family, and most of that gap is driven by homeownership rates. Black homeownership is currently at 61% for whites and 45% for blacks. That's the same gap that existed in 1960, before the Fair Housing Act. We've been running in place for 60 years. And now, just when a generation of young black professionals has stable income, education, and the discipline to save, the system changes the rules. It says your financial stress, the stress that comes from living in a country that pays you less for the same work, that charges you more for the same car insurance, that redlines your grandparents out of wealth building neighborhoods. That stress is now a reason to deny you access. They've turned your survival into a disqualification. So, what do we do? First, understand the game. FICO 10T rewards people who don't need credit. If you can pay cash for everything, if you never carry a balance, if your income is high enough that emergencies don't touch your credit cards, you'll be fine. But if you're using credit as a tool, you need to game the system back. Here's how. Number one, build the buffer. FICO 10T looks at 24 months of credit behavior. That means you need 2 years of clean data. Start now. Even if you're not buying a house for 3 years, start now. Pay off your credit cards in full every month if you can. If you can't, keep balances below 10% of your limit and don't let them spike. The algorithm is watching for volatility. Smooth is good, spiky is bad. If you've got a $5,000 limit, never go above $500. If you need more than that, increase your limit first, then use it. Keep the ratio low. Number two, weaponize rental history. If you're paying rent on time every month, make sure the data gets reported. Services like Rental Kharma, Level Credit, and Esusu report your rent payments to the credit bureaus. This can add points to your FICO 10T score, especially if your credit file is thin. But be strategic. If you've ever been late on rent, don't report it. You're not required to. Only report rent if it helps you. Number three, know your real numbers before you go shopping. Don't trust the score in your Credit Karma app. That's FICO 8 or VantageScore 3. It's not what lenders use. Get your actual mortgage credit report pulled. You can do this through a mortgage broker without impacting your score if it's a soft pull during pre-qualification. Know where you stand with Classic FICO, FICO 10T, and VantageScore 4.0. If there's a gap, you need to fix it before you make an offer on a house, not after. Number four, shop the lenders who haven't switched yet. Not all lenders are using FICO 10T. Some are still on Classic FICO. Some are using VantageScore. Call around. Ask directly. What credit scoring model are you using for mortgage approvals? If they're on Classic FICO and your Classic score is higher, go with them. If they're on FICO 10T and your trended data is clean, go with them. You're not stuck with one answer. Shop. Number five, and this is the most important, reframe what winning looks like. Homeownership is not the only path to wealth. I know they told you it was. I know your parents made money on their house, but the math has changed. If buying a house means spending 50% of your income on a mortgage, you're not building wealth, you're building stress. Run the real numbers. Calculate your net worth with and without the house over 10 years. If renting and investing the difference gets you further ahead, rent. Don't let the cultural pressure to own a home trap you in a financial prison. The goal is freedom, not a deed. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. FICO 10T isn't about making lending fairer. It's about managing risk for lenders in a housing market that's been artificially inflated for 2 decades. Home prices can't keep rising faster than wages forever. At some point, the bubble pops. And when it does, lenders don't want to be holding loans from people they think are financially fragile. So they've redesigned the algorithm to screen you out now before the crash. You're not failing the test, you're being preemptively excluded from a market that's about to collapse. And when it does collapse, when home prices drop 20 or 30% in the next recession, the people with cash, the people who didn't get approved for mortgages because FICO 10T said they were too risky, those people will be able to buy. The system is clearing the field so that wealth can consolidate at the top. You are not bad with money. You are playing a game designed for you to lose. FICO 10T is not a tool for fairness, it's a tool for extraction. It takes your financial stress, the stress of living in an economy where wages are flat and costs are soaring, and it turns that stress into a reason to charge you more, to deny you access, to keep you renting while someone else builds equity off your paycheck. But now you see it. Now you know the equation, and knowledge is the first step to freedom. You can't change the system overnight, but you can stop letting the system change you. You can stop blaming yourself for failing a test that was rigged. You can stop chasing a version of the American dream that doesn't exist anymore and start building your own definition of wealth. Maybe that's owning a home in 5 years when you've stacked enough cash to negotiate. Maybe that's investing in index funds and building a portfolio that gives you options. Maybe that's starting a business, buying land, or just saying no to the debt trap entirely. The no noise approach is simple. See the system, understand the math, refuse to play by rules designed to break you. Your parents' advice won't save you because your parents didn't live in this economy. The gurus selling you credit repair courses won't save you because they're profiting off your confusion. The only thing that will save you is cold, hard numbers and the willingness to act on them. FICO 10T is here. The rules have changed. But you don't have to accept the outcome they designed for you. Run your numbers, build your buffer, know your options. And when the market shifts, and it will shift, you'll be ready. Not because you played their game better, but because you refused to play it at all. That's freedom. That's wealth. That's the only victory that matters. If this video changed how you see the system, hit that like button. If you want more breakdowns that expose the invisible equations keeping us broke, subscribe and drop a comment telling me what financial trap you want me to break down next. Because we're just getting started. I'm DeAndre, and I'll see you in the next one.